All right, joining us now is Fox Sports NBA analyst and insider Chris Broussard. Chris, I just want to cut straight to the chase. The NBA is officially back. Tate and I have been a little skeptical about this, though. It just felt like a logistical nightmare to even get to this point, to even have an announcement that the NBA is back. And now we're seeing, Matt Barnes is saying that some of the players might not want to come back. There's a lot of logistical questions that still have to be answered. What % chance do you think we will actually see a champion crowned in October?
Well, I'll say this. I think there's about a 95% chance that we will start play.
Okay.
July 31st.
Okay.
Now, will there be a spike, because of, states have opened, including Florida, which obviously opened up early as far as, the shutdown and then all of the marching and stuff. Look, if the reason we shut down, like when we shut down in March, if that was appropriate, like if that was legitimate, then how can we not think we're going to see a spike?
Right. Yeah. That's kind of what
because we've ignored we ended the shutdown prematurely. People have been marching and everything and, going on like as if there was no coronavirus. Mm-hmm. And so if we had to shut down in March, if that was legitimate, then you think we're going to see a spike. And we know that Florida, right around where they're supposed to play in Disney World, has experienced their highest, rate of the virus just yesterday.
Yeah.
And so maybe we may see a spike that shuts the season down. I don't know. Look, the unfortunate thing is it's become so politicized. It's hard to know who's telling the truth. Mm-hmm. But trying to listen to the doctors and epidemiologists, it would seem like we may have a spike that either shuts the thing down before it even starts or shuts it down once it gets going.
Because it sort of feels, as on the outside looking in, it sort of feels like there was a race just to like put something down on paper, like this is what we're going to do. And then now as the ink is drying on that agreement, people are kind of looking around saying like, is this actually feasible? Can we actually pull this off where we quarantine people? And we don't, for 3 months, you're asking the players to not leave and not let anybody in. Did you get a sense that like people are optimistic this is going to happen, or like?
I do think the league is optimistic from players on up. Now, obviously, you mentioned Matt Barnes, and yeah, there are some players who are skeptical and pessimistic. But here's what is motivating everyone, from the lowest player to the highest owner and the commissioner: money. The players understand. They understand they're not exempt. If they don't play, they're gonna lose. The league's gonna lose like $1 billion.
Yeah,
and that is going to affect them in their future earnings. Mm-hmm. That's the main thing. But also, players do want a lot of players want a sense of closure to this season. Mm-hmm. LeBron James wants to play and have a chance to win another championship. Mm-hmm. So if they don't play and have closure to this season, everything that happened in the past 4 or 5 months is irrelevant. Mm-hmm. All of that great ball LeBron played and Giannis, it's irrelevant. And so those are two of the main motivating factors. So while there may be some pessimism among certain individual players, for the most part, they are all motivated by the two things I just said. So I do think they're optimistic and going to try, but I think everyone recognizes that this thing is changing weekly.
Right.
And so, there's a chance that there could be a hitch.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we heard early, Chris, was, that people were concerned about, you don't want to try to salvage this season and risk losing next season, right? That was some of the earlier thought that we kind of heard in April and going into May. And now we have a schedule set December 1st. There are 8 teams that won't be a part of the 22 that go to Orlando and the whole rollout. But does it seem like if we get to a position where, there is a spike or there is some sort of other thing, that we will do what we can to save and salvage the next season? Because you don't want to go and lose 2 seasons, right? Just trying to manifest one and make it like you said, pick a champion, find a champion,
Yeah,
whatever it may be.
if there was a spike and that ended this season, or it didn't start, or they had to cut it short during the middle, I think you would have to just say, okay, we're not doing it. Yeah, you would have to go to the next season. This season, it was a pandemic, and we couldn't complete it. Simple as that. And then you just go to the start of the next season. But and hopefully we'll have a vaccine maybe in January or something like that. But I think that would be how you'd have to go. And I actually think December 1st. Now, granted, if they don't finish this season, December 1st may be fine. But playing through October 12th and then starting training camp a few weeks later, that, the Players Association has pushed back on that a bit. And I think rightfully so, because I don't think that's a long enough break for the teams that go deep into the playoffs.
The example we keep throwing out is like LeBron tests positive, game 5 of the Western Conference the night before, but he's showing no symptoms. So in LeBron's mind, he's like, I'm fully healthy. I can play. But like, what do they do? And it doesn't really feel like they have a contingency plan, but I guess you cross that bridge when you come to it.
Well, they've had in their internal discussions, you better believe they've talked about stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you better believe 2 things. 1, LeBron will want to play. And 2, Adam Silver would hate to sit LeBron down.
Right.
Right. But the only fair thing to do would be to sit LeBron down.
Right.
That's it. You would have to. And if you didn't, that would be wrong, period. And that is, you're right, that's the risk. If there was a scenario like that, and those are the situations, you would just have to treat it like an injury.
Yeah.
The other would be unfortunate, but you'd have to.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to ask you, Chris, is obviously the news of the country right now is the Black Lives Matter protests and all that all that going on across the country. We've kind of been here before at the NBA when the Colin Kaepernick thing was happening at the NFL. They came out and said like the players will stand for the anthem. There wasn't really a lot of controversy with that. Do you anticipate that being a problem if we have games? Are guys going to want to kneel during the anthem, have some sort of protest? Is the NBA prepared to deal with that? Like, because they've already come out, what was it, 2 years ago, I think, and they said like
there's a rule.
Yeah,
there's a rule.
Yeah, there's a rule that you have to stand. It feels like conversations need to now be had in NBA circles about that. How do you see that playing out?
The NBA players are interested because, you always hear this talk about how woke the NBA is, despite the lack of Black presidents in the league, and general managers in the league. You always hear this, and you always hear how supportive they are of their players being woke. But their players, speaking out, are they going to go beyond that? And so if they decide to kneel, that'll be interesting. Now, knowing Adam Silver, knowing he's very much a players commissioner, and knowing that he is, and has great relationships with LeBron James and Chris Paul and the players, honestly, I think he would he wouldn't push back if they kneel. Mm-hmm. That's my feeling. I think he would overlook that rule, but we would see. And would he get pushed back from the powers that be if he does that? So it could be very interesting to see what indeed happens in that instance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we could see Chris, right? The I Can't Breathe, the Derrick Rose shirts that he brought out in 2014 that we saw LeBron and Kobe and all those other guys, kind of joining that movement. That could be something that comes back as well. And you mentioned Adam Silver. I mean, this is something that Titus and I talk about a lot. I mean, he is the players commissioner. He is friends with, LeBron and Chris Paul. He's close with these guys. But like you said, the powers that be, they're looking at the bottom line always. That's why we're at this position where we're going to go down to Disney World and we're going to play this tournament, like you said, to get that money back. If the powers that be aren't getting the full bottom line and they have, some sort of protest going on as well, would that put Adam in a precarious position, obviously, because this will be one of those times that he has to, you're always playing both sides as a commissioner. We understand that.
Because look, he works for the owners.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Those are his bosses. Yep.
They've already lost $400 million from the situation with China.
In China. Yep.
And Adam stood on principle, and I applaud him for that. But as you said, at the end of the day, these guys want to make their money. Mm-hmm. And so you already have that situation. if this ends up hurting the bottom line as well, then yeah, it could be a very complicated situation for Adam Silver and even the players. And so yeah, that is this. I mean, we're at an incredible time in our country, and it's going to be interesting to see how these various things play out, because you're going to really find out who really is willing to go the extra mile and sacrifice personal things, money, whatever it may be, for this cause if they really believe in it.
Well, before we let you go, let's talk about the actual basketball, Chris. From an outsider's perspective, as two guys that follow college more than the NBA, it feels like the finals, we were on track for a Milwaukee versus an LA team. We're not sure which LA team it was. That's kind of how I saw it. Is that, number one, is that a fair assessment? Number two, do you think like changing the format and playing in this Disney World bubble, is there a team that you see like now that the format has changed, now maybe this team could disrupt that narrative that it's going to be Giannis and the Bucks versus either Kawhi or LeBron, basically?
You certainly hit on the favorites. And
yeah.
While Milwaukee has to be the favorite in the East, they're not a lock. Until you prove that you can get over the hump and win a conference title, you're not a lock. I mean, we liked Steve Nash's Suns. They never won the conference. We liked Chris Webber's Sacramento Kings. They never won the conference. When LeBron was in Cleveland the first go-round, they won it in 2007, but they had great teams in 2009 and 2010 that won 66 games, 61 games, and we assumed would win the East and never could get over that hump. So until you see it, can Giannis deliver them and get them over the hump? Until you see that, yeah, they can be the favorite, but they can't be a lock. And I think, the Bucks are only 8-5 against the other top 5 teams in the East.
Oh, wow.
And so they have, while they've been dominant overall, they have had their struggles with some of the top teams in the East. Miami's 2-0 against them. And, matchups are very critical in the NBA. So is that a team that gives them matchup problems? They put Bam Adebayo on Giannis, and he's been able to slow him down. And then because Giannis is their only superstar, who else would step up and make up for what Giannis may not be able to give him? We saw that last year. That's why Toronto beat him, because Kawhi was able to limit Giannis's dominance, and then no one else could step up. And that's the challenge when you only have one legitimate superstar. And so while Milwaukee, I think, is the fair favorite, they're not a lock by any stretch. Boston is a tough, smart, hard-nosed team that's well coached. Toronto has a better record than they did last year with Kawhi Leonard.
That's crazy.
They're well coached. Those guys are hard-nosed, so they're going to be tough. Miami, I mentioned. Philadelphia on paper is the most talented team in the East, but they're not. I don't think they're very mentally tough. So I don't think they win the East, but they can be scary. On the other side, you hit on it, both LA teams. I think there's the Clippers, Lakers, and then everyone else in the West is a notch below. As good as Houston, Denver, Utah, and some of these other teams are, they're a notch below the 2 LA teams. And I think I picked the Clippers to win it all. And I actually think that this break is going to help them because they were arguably, forget the record, they were arguably the best team in the league already. They're the only team that beat the Lakers twice. Once they beat them without Paul George. And to think that they were that good while Kawhi was missing 13 games and sitting out once a week or once every week and a half or whatever. And Paul George missed 22 games. And Landry Shamet missed 17. And Patrick Beverly missed 16. How good will they be when all of these guys are playing consistently? Their chemistry will be better. And then secondly, they were on track to face the Lakers in a playoff series in which the reality was going to be they were playing 7 road games. Because even when they faced the Lakers in the Staples Centers in what was technically a Clippers home game, we know the Lakers were going to have the crowd support. 60% at least were going to be Lakers fans. for 7 games or however far it went. That was going to be a huge disadvantage for them that now is completely erased. It will be no home court advantage or disadvantage. And so that benefits the Clippers as well. So, yeah, I think that the Clippers are the favorites overall and that they are the team that's benefited most from this shutdown.
That's a great point. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, that is a great point. I was going to ask Chris, like, what is everyone talks about an asterisk, right? Everyone's going to put something and say, like, this is why it wasn't a real championship season. If there were no fans there, we remember LeBron came out early, said he wouldn't play without fans, that there's no point to play without fans. If there are no fans there, there is no quote unquote momentum swings, and the Lakers lose to the Clippers. Can that be a reason to point to as to why they did not win? Can that be a nice way to play into the next year? Is that a good caveat, I should say?
I mean, it is something like, the saying, whatever helps you sleep at night.
Okay, good. That's all I want to. I'm getting the Lakers fans ready just in case Kawhi comes to town.
If you're a Lakers player or fan, then yeah, you can tell yourself. But if you're asking, will that be a significant reason for people to put that mental asterisk by the championship? No. I think, look, as long as all the players are playing by the same rules, like, I'm never down with asterisks anyway.
Yes,
but look, all the players there, everybody's season was disrupted. Everybody was off for 3 to 4 months. Everybody had to play under this strange system. Everybody had to, quarantine or stay on campus, so to speak. And so it's not like the Clippers have one set of rules and the Lakers have another. I won't put an asterisk. I think the one thing that could make people, at least for a few years, have an asterisk, because ultimately we'll forget. And when you look at this 10 years from now, 5 years from now, you'll just say, if LeBron and the Lakers do win it, we'll just say he got 4 rings.
Yep.
So people want to put an asterisk on the Spurs in '99 because of the strike. But we don't, when we look at Tim Duncan, we say he's got 5 rings.
Right.
We don't say, he's got 4.5 or whatever. Even if you go back to the 70s, early 70s, when the ABA was playing, half of the best players in the world were in the ABA. The ABA actually beat the NBA more often than not when they played exhibition games. And in the last 3 years of their playing exhibition games, they dominated the NBA. They won like 66% of the games. And Dr. J, George Gervin, all these guys were in the ABA, and we don't think of Wilt Chamberlain's championship with the Lakers in '72 and the 33-game win streak. Or we don't think of the Knicks championships in '70 and '73 as having asterisks, even though those are shaky when you look at how many players even in the league, NBA at that time. So I think historically it'll be fine. We'll just view them as legitimate champions. But one thing that for the next few years could make people really question this champion is if, as you brought up earlier, a LeBron James comes down with the virus and has to stop playing.
Right.
Or God forbid, several stars, LeBron, Kawhi, Giannis. I mean, and then you end up maybe with a Miami winning a championship or an Oklahoma City, something really bizarre because several players had to sit out, several superstars because of the virus. Barring that, I don't think people will put a mental asterisk on it.
We appreciate you giving us some time here. You can listen to the Odd Couple radio show weekdays on Fox Sports Radio, 7 to 10. Chris Broussard, Rob Parker. We appreciate it so much, Chris. Thank you for your insight. We really do appreciate it, man.
All right, guys, you're welcome. Enjoy, keep up the great work. You guys do a good job, and it was my pleasure.
All
Thanks,
right,
Chris.
Thanks, man.
For the best access, perspective, and personalities in all of sports, follow us at Fox Sports on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.